Now we'll discuss the concept of mitigation. We'll see the complete process of mitigation. What exactly mitigation is? Mitigation is nothing but allowing the risk to the user. Our role is called as mitigation. Whenever we perform risk analysis and if there is a risk at user level or role level, so the the risk owner needs to decide whether this risk is allowed to the user or whether the risk is to be deleted from the user or role. Okay, so if we are going to allow the risk at user level or role level, we have to create the mitigation control ID. So we have the mitigation concept here, and now I'll show you the entire process of mitigation. So first we need to create the organization unit for the mitigation. Okay, I am creating the organization unit. SAP reference IMG GRC shared master data, create root organization hierarchy. Now I am going to create a root organization. Okay, for example, test 1 root org. Okay, along with that we have to create the child organization unit. So I am going to create here test 1 root or test 1 org, test 1 child org. Okay, test 1 under test 1 org we are creating test 1 child org. Now click on execute. So the organization root has been created. Under this organization root we are going to create the mitigation. Sorry. So now as we have created one root organization. Okay, now we need to maintain the data for that root organization. So go to NWBC. Let me close this first. Okay, now NWBC. No window is open. Now it is okay. So now NWBC, and now go to setup work center. Under setup work center we have organizations here. Okay, select the organizations. Okay, so what is our organization? What organization we have created? That is test1 org. Select this organization. Okay, and then click on open. What we are going to do by this step, we are going to maintain the data for this organization. We are okay, here description test 1 organization. Okay, you have to specify the country for this organization, that is India, as we have created this organization for India country. Okay, click on OK. State we need to specify here. Now we have owners. We have to maintain the owners for this organization. Okay, so here we need to maintain the owners. So how we are going to maintain the owners? The owners must have mitigation roles, the user IDs. So anyhow, I'll be showing you how to create mitigation owners list. Okay, I will create two users here. Already we have users, but I'll be showing you here. Just u01. Okay, test for miti. Okay, I'm creating one user ID here. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. No, risk owner cannot be assigned as a mitigation owner. Star GRC. So here we need to assign the mitigation. See here, mitigation control, approver and monitor. See here, this is what mitigation control owner, and this is mitigation control monitor, and this is mitigation control approver. Okay, so I am going to assign these three roles to only one user. Okay, save this. Okay, so now we'll go to this organization, add row. Here you need to select star. So what is that user ID we created? Test. If it is not there, then we need to close this, and again we need to open this organization because the data needs to be updated. No, test. Yes, it needs to be updated. No, not test root. Yes, test. What user we have created? We have created one user ID. Okay. Yes, I am talking about test for meet. Okay. Yes, test for meet. Yes, this user needs to be available here. So here it is not available. So what I would do now, I will save this. Saving data failed, access owner names cannot be emptied. Remove this. Okay, now save the data. Okay, now what I would do, yes, obviously we need to add that owner in the access owners list. Access owners list. So that is access, this is access owners. Under access owners we have access control owners. Here we need to assign the owner type. So what is the owner we have created? That is test for star. Okay, test for mitigation. Select OK. Now I am going to assign mitigation monitors, mitigation approvers. Mitigation monitor and mitigation approver, these two roles needs to be assigned so that this user can be used as monitor and as well as approver. So save now. Okay, now close it, and now go to the organization which we created, that is here organizations, and our organization is what? Test 1 org. Select this organization, open it. So we have already maintained the description, country and state. Now I am going to select owners tab, add row. Here I am going to select that user. Now that user will be available, that is test for star. Okay, okay, so let me check. So these are the owners we have. Okay, so here we have test for MIT. It must be available now. Yes, it is test for MIT. So now I am selecting this user, test for mitigation. Okay, so now we have maintained one owner for this organization, and this owner is going to be treated as mitigation owner and mitigation approver. Okay, so we can even maintain two users, two owners, one as approver, one as owner, monitor, one as approver and one as monitor. So I will add one more owner here, as already I have created. So I am going to select here the next owner is Lara. Okay, so better to define the name here, because I did not specify the name in SU01 transaction code. In SU01 transaction code, where I created users, there I did not specify the full name. That is the reason it is showing you blank. So I am here specifying test for mit, and here I am going to specify as Laura. Okay, now save this. So we have maintained the owners for this organization. Clear now? Now we need to create the mitigation control ID. So under setup work center we have mitigation controls, and under this mitigation controls click on mitigation controls. Okay, so these are the control mitigation control IDs which we created before, and we have even standard mitigation control IDs as we don't have any standard mitigation control IDs. These are the customized control IDs. Anyhow, you won't have the standard one, so I am creating the new mitigation control ID. Click on create. Now I am creating the mitigation control ID as test1 MIT, name test1 mitigation control ID. Okay, MIT control ID. For which organization you are creating this mitigation control ID? We are creating this mitigation control ID for test organization, test1 organization. This is our test1 org. Select this. For which business process you are creating this mitigation control ID, that you need to specify here. That is for test business process 1, and you need to specify the sub process as well. It is not mandatory. It is not mandatory if you are leaving it as blank. If you are leaving it as blank, so you can assign this mitigation control ID for all the business processes. Understood? So now access risk. Under the access risk, for which access risk you are creating this mitigation control ID. So this mitigation control ID will be allowed to only this particular access risk, that is test star, which we created earlier. Okay, I hope this is that test1 risk. Yes. Okay, and one mitigation control ID can be applied, can be created for n number of risks. Understood? Now we are creating this mitigation control ID for only one risk. If you want to If you want to create this mitigation control ID for other risk, then you need to click on add row. Okay, so you have to specify that risk ID here. Okay, so I don't want to have this second one. Okay, now you need to maintain the owners. Click on add owners. So what owners we have maintained in our test organization? That is two owners. One is test meet and one is Lara. So I am selecting this test meet user ID as mitigation approver, and I am going to maintain one more owner, that is for monitor. Now I am going to add one more user, that is as monitor. Okay, so I'm maintaining two users. One is as approver, that is test for meet, and one is as monitor, that is for Lara. Or you can maintain only one user as approver and monitor as well. Okay, so now I'm going to save this. Okay, so now it has been created. The mitigation control ID has been created. Okay, now close this. Now we have created mitigation control ID under the organization of test1 org, and for test1 business process, and for test1 risk. Now we have to apply this mitigation control ID to user, so that the risk will be allowed to that user, or you can even apply this mitigation control ID to role as well. So now what we are going to do, as we have created the mitigation control ID, no need to regenerate. That one I am showing you now. So after as we have created mitigation control ID under a particular organization, that is test1, and we have created this mitigation control ID for test1 business process and for test risk. Okay, now we are going to apply this mitigation control ID to the user who has a risk. So go to access management work center. Under access management work center, we have mitigated access. So now we are going to mitigate the user. Okay, as we have got the risk at user level, so now we are going to mitigate that user. So click on this mitigated users. Okay, and now click on assign. Access risk ID, we have to specify the access risk ID. What is that access risk ID? Test. Yes. Okay, yes, it is case sensitive. Okay, test1 risk, and rule ID is not required. By default it is 001. So control ID, which control ID? This is the control ID available for this risk. Understood? We have while we create control ID, mitigation control ID, we have assigned this risk. We have assigned that control ID to this risk, and for this risk there is only one control ID, that is test1 MIT, and click on OK. So he is the monitor. Okay, and he is the approver. No need to get confused here. Monitor is test for MIT user and approver is the Lara. Why I am asking you not to get confused? I have a habit of assigning the last name HI. So both have the HI name, last names. Understood? Okay. Now for in which system you are going to apply this mitigation control ID, that is for backend system, or you can even use as star. It means in all the systems by default it is selected as star. Okay, and now you can add that particular user to which you are going to assign this mitigation control ID. So that user is, what is that user? That is test, sorry, Abhi1, right? Abhi1. Okay, this is the user ID for which we are mitigating now. Okay, I have selected this user ID, and now click on OK. So you can mitigate n number of users at a time. Okay, you can add the other users as well. Okay, so I don't want to add now. So yes, you can do it. Okay, now I'm going to save this. Click on save. Okay, and you can specify the validity of the mitigation here, valid from 1306 2014 to 1306 2015. By default we have 1 year validity, or you can provide a particular validity, for example only 1 month. Then what I'm going to do here, 407. Okay, so this mitigation will be allowed for only 1 month. Now click on save. Okay, it has been saved now. So and now close this. Okay, now we'll go to risk analysis again. Click on user level, and now select your backend system GNE 455, for which user you are going to perform the risk analysis, that is Abhi1. Okay, I have selected this Abhi1. Remove this, or remove this. So here a rule set, what is our rule set? That is test rule set 1 and dialog. Now I am going to perform risk analysis at user Abhi. Now run in foreground. So we'll see whether this user has a risk or not. There is no risk for this user as we have mitigated this user. Understood, Abhishek? No violations. No violations for this user. Okay. So how do we know that this user is mitigated? That what we need to do, if you want to get that information, select this include mitigated risk. Now run in foreground. Now it will show you the risk, the original risk which this user has. User ID is Abhi, and this is the last name, and this is the risk which this user has. Okay, and this is the risk level, that is medium, and this is your backend system, and due to these two transaction codes this user has this risk, and these are the control IDs. This is the control ID which has been applied to this user so that this user is mitigated. So this is what the concept of mitigation. Finally we have mitigated this user, and whenever you perform risk analysis, the risk analysis won't show you the risk for this user as it is mitigated. Now this user is allowed for the risk. Okay, so this is the way we generally mitigate the user, and the same way we can mitigate the role as well. Okay, that I'll be showing you in the next session. So we had some interruption due to the participant disconnection. Okay, uh, that's what we had some interruption here. So the next concept we'll be discussing in the next session. Thank you very much.